living your life from the heart, because what is happening around Nigeria will cause a lot of stir, will also cause a lot of unbelief and disbelief, but that should not be your portion. And you need no validation to be successful, and you need no degree to live a very good life. You are an example of humanity, and where humanity is, it shows that life is there. On this note, I welcome you to Early Starters. Early Starters, it is that time where you sit back, relax, and listen to information come from anything they have done before. So your life is in your hands. On that note, we take you to the dailies. Dailies, they've shown my name, Michael Armstrong. So let me hit you with what is happening around newspaper around Nigeria. Now we're starting with This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper. Yes, the MCR is a very wonderful person, and area along Obafemi Awolowo Way, time 12 noon. It is not a joke. It is something you're seeing in front of your screen. Now let me just give you a bite of what is on this daily. Let me give you a bite of what is on this daily, and what the This Day newspaper holds for us. Now on the This Day newspaper, we see Nigeria Independent Oil and Gas Sector is celebrating this energy, step up energies in Nigerian Independent Oil and Gas Sector. It's also saying that his appointment was due to performance. The appointment was due to performance, and the appointment of Sepal Energy PLC has been construed for appointment of a billionaire, that's a billionaire inspector and breakers, leading to the bringing up of Tony Elumelu. Tony Elumelu is not new when it comes to this kind of thing. He has been the chairman of a bank before. He has also been an MD. He has passed through all this phase, and that is what we see in your front. Now you can see more of the stories continued on the page 8 of the This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper talking to you about what is happening today on the This Day newspaper. So that will be all what we will take on the This Day newspaper. Today we will be moving to the next newspaper. Now, as it is now, the paper review is all papers around the globe. Now, the next newspaper on front of us is nothing other than Vanguard. Vanguard, we say IMF counsels federal government against $5 billion UAE loan, 6 higher taxes. You see that on page 11 on the Vanguard newspaper. We are after rescue of 416 captive in Borno. We're talking about the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper. Now, most of the dailies today are having a lot of things to do with what is happening in the system. And most of them are also having a picture of the president celebrating his time and his moment. But as it is, the papers still have some good information for you to follow. Like I said, the top lightest of the Vanguard newspaper is what we're looking at. We have IMF counsels federal government against $5 billion UAE loan, 6 higher taxes. You see that on the page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. You see that on the page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Yeah, the MCR is working on some glitches and it's coming up very fast. Yes, on the page 11, like I said, IMF counsel the federal government against $5 billion naira loan from the UAE, 6 higher taxes. Out of page 11, then we see Nigeria moving in right direction. Federal government is saying that. More stories on that on the page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now the punchline here is this: unveil Tinubu's scorecard, defense reforms, highlights economic gains, 1 million student loan beneficiaries, tax reforms, and graft success. Says it is prepared to judge by evidence. You can see that on the page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Rep summon service chiefs, finance ministers over security spending. You see that on the page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. These are on top, the front burner. That is what you're seeing on your screen. I also told you about after rescue of 416 captives in Borno, 11 more kidnapped women regain freedom. Now, how they were freed was not told, and the discussion was not given, but the main here was that they have regained freedom. You see that on the page 8. You can go to the Vanguard newspaper to source for more sources and more information. Now, on Tony Elumelu appointed chairman of SEPLAT. We also have it here. It's seen on the page 26 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, we have seen this before, but the celebration of the renewed FCT Hope commissions Arterial Road in Obafemi Awolowo Way in the FCT from Life Camp Junction is what you're seeing on your screen. And the president is smiling, and yes, Wike is smiling. All his accolade was given here. We now know that he's a bar, which is a lawyer, and he's also a CON, Commander Order of the Niger. So as it is now, the president is smiling, and we hope that the road serve the duration of time. And that will be all for what we have for you on Vanguard newspaper today. Like I said, this is day 2. You can go to the screen, go to social media handle, get the papers for yourself. And as you get the paper, I will be picking the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, on the top surface of the Punch newspaper, we are seeing NAS will pass state's police bill this week. Senate leader. That is on the page 3 of the Punch newspaper. Nigeria's foreign debt to hit $772 billion after 2027 polls. IMF had just thrown the bomb. IMF had given us the bazooka of what is happening. You'll see that on the top face of your Punch newspaper. Just relax and go through it and see it for yourself. You see that on the page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Nigeria's foreign debt to hit $17.6 billion after 2027 polls. Now the big question there is that there's a lot of questions. You ask, are they using the money for election? Are they doing this? Go to the page 9 of the Punch newspaper and you could do justice to this. Then we have Elumelu appointed chairman of Sepal Energy. Sepal Energy is an independent oil energy. They're all coming up strong because of what is happening in the Middle East. And I believe Nigeria should be a powerhouse by now to take this as an advantage and stop using it as a toggle for toss. So you can see that on the page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Post-primary chaos worsen as INEC fixes candidates submission deadline. That is on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper. If you want to see what is happening in your space, you know, the papers and the dailies have a lot of information on your space. You choose the one you want to see and understand what is happening around you. Be informed, don't be deformed. Now, like on the front burner, we still say what we read on the other ones. It's just being all clamor, celebration, and singing praises to the president. You know, a lot of people have mixed feelings when it comes to the man on the screen. He's wearing glasses and he is above 70 years. So the smiles, gratitude, thanksgiving, and the raising up of hands and clamoring should be given to whom is due. I believe for now, they are saying Mr. President is due for this kind of celebration. And that will be all for the Punch newspaper. That will be all for the Punch newspaper. Now, we'll be going to the next newspaper. But before we go to the next newspaper, I want to just tell you that people behind the screen are doing wonderfully well. And they are rearranging things, everything happening around you, everything you want to know, and everything you're looking for is in the dailies. The ones you do not see, you can check on the social media handle. Now, what we're seeing here is conscience nurtured by truth. Conscience nurtured by truth. Now, the conscience that is nurtured by truth is known as the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper, we're starting not with the front burner because it's a potpourri of what has been happening on all the papers. We have court ruling threatening 2027 election timetable. INEC warns. That means you'll see it on the news page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. IMF backs Nigeria reform progress. Warns poverty, food insecurity may worsen the process. You'll see that on the page 16 of the Guardian newspaper. Senate to consider single term for presidents and governors after 2027 polls. You see that on news page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Household ration swap to charcoal as cooking gas record 67% spike. That's on the page 6 on the Guardian newspaper. You can see that above the front banner. Now the front banner is none other than the heralding praise and giving accolade, giving what we call encomium to the president on the completion of road. And you can see here some Wike and the lady behind. You can go more on the page to see. This is day 2 there. More on the page to see. It's on the front banner and they show you the before and after. So if you're in Abuja, you're piling the Abuja road, you know which road to pass and you know there's success on that road. So no need of fear. No need of fear, no need of fear. That's what we're saying on the Papers Daily. The Papers Daily are still celebrating the president. After we just finished from the Guardian, that will be all we'll be taking for the Guardian newspaper. After the Guardian newspaper, I want to move you to the next newspaper. And the next newspaper is none other than the paper you've been hearing for a lot of while. If you've been in Nigeria, this paper has been a lot of while. The name of the paper is the Daily Times. Now, the Daily Times is bringing something unique to us this morning. In the Daily Times, we see Ebola. Tinubu approves 10 billion naira for emergency preparedness, establishes task force. Yes, establishes task force, emergency preparedness. You see that on your Daily Times. Then when it comes to the column they put for business, you see federal government deepens reforms as IMF forecast 4% growth despite poverty concerns. 4% growth despite poverty concern. Then 2027, Falana raises red flag. List insecurity attacks on free speech, hunger as threats to democracy. Falana is a known son. Yeah, he has not been given the SAM. We're not sure of that, which is now called the senior advocate of the masses. But he likes throwing jabs and spiting where he could spite at any time. He said he's a humanist, and that is his job. So Falana is saying that there is a red flag in insecurity and there are attacks on free speech, hunger as threats to democracy. That means a lot of people are saying a lot of things. You can see that on the Daily Times newspaper. Then still on the Daily Times newspaper, we are seeing on the front burner, no room for terror from north to south, east to west. We stand as one. No room for terror from north to south, east to west. We stand as one. A group is saying that, a group of young men is saying that to the public. Then Senate queries Southeast Development Commission, MD over 16 billion budget. You see that on the dailies of the Daily Time. Then xenophobia, first batch of stranded Nigerians in South Africa to land Thursday. Federal government is saying that they are landing on Thursday. They are landing on Thursday. Like I say, the Senate is also looking at a lot of things within the page. That of the Senate is on the page 2. And the one of all the story of what the Senate is saying about the Eastern Development Commission is on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. The Daily Times newspaper. The managing director is said to be summoned by the government and the senators just to prove what has been happening in the space of development when it comes to the Southeast. The Southeast is the most underdeveloped in the South. South and Southeast. Southeast is worse than the South. So if some money has gone there, they have the right to question the MD. That is on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. And that will be all for today's paper. You can come shortly. That will be all for today's paper. So most times we have a lot of things that the papers are doing and saying. Go and check that of your quota. There are a lot of things there.
In recent months, the prices of gas continue to climb, putting pressure on many household budgets and forcing many to seek alternative measures just to cook their food. But how does this inflation affecting people and how are they coping? What do they think about it and how do they think it can be tackled? Let's find out from Nigerians.
Well, my views concerning the inflation and especially the price of gas, it's a very terrible situation because for me, I know what caused it is Pengasan strike, but because Pengasan were angry with Dangote, but personally, I think Dangote is right sabotaging this company. This company cost like $20 billion. Nobody in Nigeria has ever done this. Even Nigerian government cannot operate their own refinery, but Dangote is doing something nice. Now Pengasa wants to spoil everything. Me, I support Dangote 100%. So now we are buying gas for like at least 1.5, 2.5 per kilo, per whatever. So it's terrible. So me, I'm on the side of Dangote. I think Dangote is right. And federal government should do everything to protect the company. Because if Dangote falls now, that company falls, we're in serious trouble. If we're using gas, but now getting, like yesterday now, my brother went to buy gas. He spent like 8 hours before he could get, and they only sold 2 kg. So now we use charcoal, and we don't eat like 3 times again. We cook once and then warm the food later.
Dis Nigeria don tire me o. Gas 2005, 2015, e don tire me. I no like am at all at all. As I dey so I no dey cook food in time. Or else NEPA bring light. Shey dat one good in Nigeria? E no good, e don tire me o. Make gas slow down.
Can't cook again except it's using firewood, and we have gas at home. What is really happening? Please help us to beg our government, our president.
Actually, we always buy like 800, 1,000, 112. So presently we are like 2,000 naira. Please, if it is possible, they should just help us to find something to do to it. Because before, people always using firewood, all this charcoal. Now they thought gas will be easier, so we rush into gas. Now we don't even know what to do. Why is it 2,000 naira? Because it's not everybody that can even afford that 2,000 naira of 18 of that is 1 kg 2,000 naira. Please, it is much. We should just help us to do something to it to make it easy.
To you, and of course, it is the 10th day in the month of June, year 2026, and it is time for a What Business update on early starters. And they're talking about what the business world looks like this morning. And picking the first report, which is on Business Day newspaper. Shortly, you have that on your screen. And the story says how a $100 billion funding gap is forcing telecom. Yes, there you have it. Rivals to become partners. How a $100 billion funding gap is forcing telecom rivals to become partners. And let's take a peek into the story. It says Africa's telecom giants are increasingly turning competitions into partners at a $100 billion digital infrastructure funding gap makes it impossible for any single operator to finance the continent's broadband, 5G, artificial intelligence, AI, cloud computing, and financial technology ambitions alone. Well, the shift marks one of the biggest changes in Africa's telecom industry in decades. Operators that once spent billions building separate towers, fiber networks, and transmission systems are now pushing for shared infrastructure models, arguing that collaboration has become essential for survival and growth in the digital economy. Leading the campaign is MTN Group, Africa's largest mobile operator, which says the traditional telecom model of competing through ownership of physical infrastructure is becoming increasingly unsustainable. Page 20 has the rest of that report on the Business Day news paper. All right, check it for more business updates. This one reads foreign investment in manufacturing slumps 50.7% to $152 million in Q1 2026. The foreign investment into Nigeria's production and manufacturing sector declined sharply by 50.7% quarter on quarter to $152.27 million in the first quarter of 2026. Q1 26, down from $308.93 million recorded in the preceding quarter in Q4 25, according to the latest capital importation report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. While the reports have revealed that the sector accounted for only 1.47% of the total capital importation, valued at $10.37 billion recorded during the review period, highlighting the continued struggle to attract significant foreign capital into the productive segment of the economy. All right, and there you have that business update, and then quickly checking other business reports. Well, this one is quite interesting, and it says Nigeria's trade surplus rises 91% to 7.55 trillion naira in Q1 2026. All right, the detail says Nigeria recorded a 91% year-on-year YOY increase in trade surplus to 7.55 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2026, Q1 26, from 3.95 trillion naira in the same period of 2025, Q1 25, driven by sharp decline in imports and modest rise in exports. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, disclosed this yesterday in foreign trade in goods for Q1 2026. While the report shows that total trade fell by 6.48% YOY to 34.79 trillion naira in Q1 26 from 37.24 trillion naira in Q1 25. While the sharp increase in trade, surplus and decline in total trade in Q1 26 was driven by an 18.6% YOY decline in imports and a 2.77% year-on-year increase in exports. All right, quite an interesting business report there. And looking into more local business update, this one said charcoal price surges amid hike in cooking gas cost. All right, many households now turn to charcoal, an alternative that is increasingly becoming expensive as demand grows. Well, across several states, including Kaduna, Kano, Ondo, Kwara, and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, among others, the residents say they are struggling to cope with the soaring cost of both cooking gas and charcoal. Well, consumers and residents interviewed by the correspondent said that they are left with limited options for meeting their daily cooking needs. A market survey in Ilorin, Kwara State shows that the price of cooking gas has continued to rise amid reports of scarcity, while the cost of charcoal has also increased, putting additional pressure on households. All right, quite an interesting business report there. If you want more updates, check the Business Day newspaper. And I'm still on the Business Day report. Moving to the left-hand corner of the Business Day newspaper right on your screen then, which says Seplat taps Okon as CEO, positions Elumelu to lead next growth phase. Page 20, I beg your pardon, 31 has that report. Nigeria steps up Ebola defense with 10 billion naira fund and with riders to intensify screening of passengers at airports. Task force to be chaired by Femi Gbadabiamila, Chief of Staff to the President. All right, President Bola Tinubu has approved the immediate release of 10 billion naira emergency intervention fund to fortify Nigeria against the rapid regional Ebola situation. All right, quite an interesting one. I'm seeing a government proactive, working towards the situation of Ebola emergency, and most importantly, guarding our airports and access that to our borders as well. But with the approval of 10 billion, it should go a long way to take care of all this response, immediate response to any case of Ebola crisis in Nigeria. So, but page 31 of the day of the Business Day, part of the Business Day newspaper has more on that report. Now, still below the masthead from the front page of the paper this morning, IMF warns Nigeria against reliance on hot money as foreign inflows surge, with a rider fund warns against a plan to borrow $5 billion from Abu Dhabi. All right, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has warned Nigeria against excessive reliance on foreign portfolio investments. Okay, page 30, yes, has that, and it's on a foreign business report. More of it is that Nigerian foreign debt to hit 72.6 billion naira after 27 polls. That's according to IMF. All right, Nigeria's public external debt is projected to rise by $20.7 billion by 2027, the country's election year, according to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Well, the IMF disclosed this in its 2026 article of full consultation report on Nigeria, released on Tuesday, projecting the public external debt would increase from $51.9 billion in 2025 to $72.6 billion by 2027. The projected increase represents a 39.9% rise within 2 years and underscores growing concerns over the country's debt burden despite recent improvements in macroeconomic stability. The fund noted that Nigeria's next presidential election would take place in January 27 and warned that spending pressures associated with rising poverty, food insecurity, and election side could could widen school deficit and increase borrowing requirements. All right, that international business update came over the Business Day newspaper. And quickly checking if we can take more business reports before we wrap up this morning. Coffee's rebirth will ensure Nigeria export portfolio expansion, says Adegoke. Nigeria's commitment towards the rebirth of coffee through the Nigerian Coffee Revival Initiative will ensure the expansion of the Nigerian export portfolio on a global business update. Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday morning. Early Starters still continues, while, of course, Armstrong Michael is on standby for sports updates. Good morning and stay tuned.
Find something to do about it so that people can feel in a better way, because this stress is too much. Like the area we are now, there are a lot of people that always be on queue from day to night, like 3 days, like a week now. It has been happening often and often like that. So we are just begging the government to work about it, most especially Bola Ahmed Asiwaju. So he's our president, and we are begging him. For us, a lot of things are happening apart from the gas. Even the petrol price, everything is going up, and a lot of people are suffering. But this about the gas issue right now, that one is very, very bad, because these are the things people are using to survive, to cook as at now. So we are just begging the government, let's try to do something about it.
The gas is going for 2,000 naira per kg, which is on a very high rate and we know what is going on in the country per se. Everything has been escalated. The money is not even coming as we expected. The inflow is very short. People are struggling to live, to survive, and now I think the government should come and address this situation.
Something concerning
The information are coming to you from us. I hope you're getting me where you are. Glitches are happening. Telecoms are joining themselves together to give you a better performance. But here, we are ready to dole out what is happening in the world of sport. This is Sports News, the sports segment of Early Starters. And we're going to go right straight with the news on sports. Now, the information on sports is getting from Sports Extra from Punch Sports Extra. It will be coming on your screen right about now. On the front burner, we see Centurions Iwobi to join Yobu, Eyama Musa on 100 Nigeria caps. Iwobi is joining Yobu to, claim 100 Nigerian caps. Those are the players who have played as much games as Alexander Iwobi, the Fulham Langley forward, who is a Nigerian, who also have linked to some big Nigerian players. He's celebrating his 100 caps, and he might do a damage today or tomorrow, being as it were. Nigeria is playing Portugal today. You get more of that story, but if you want to see the story of Iwobi, you can go to the page 6 of the Punch Sports Extra. Then Nigeria is playing Portugal today. Nigeria-Portugal. Indeed, they want Selecao as Chel demands improvement. Martinez rates Eagle high. Martinez is a Portuguese player. He said Eagles are not dull drum. They are not dull as people say they are dull. But they didn't make it to the World Cup. That is what is drawing a flicker at the moment. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo's team will be slotting it out with Nigeria later today. More information on Opera Sports with the Star Force. Stay tuned. That on the page 6. The Portugal versus Nigeria is on the page 6 of Punch Extra. Then Real Madrid, Arsenal. Real Madrid contact Arsenal for Carlo Fiore. You see that on page 3. Real Madrid, they contact Arsenal for Carlo Fiore. Now Real Madrid are ready to bolster their team, make themselves strong. Their left back Alaba is old compared and Mendes compared to the Italian maestro Carlo Fiore. City and United step up 100 million Anderson bid. They are tussling for Anderson. Anderson is a player from Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest is going to make big money because they are still in the Premiership. This is the second player from same club going for big money. Then Barcelona foul at Araujo over injury warnings. Araujo is one of Barcelona's captain. He plays for Uruguay, and they are telling him that he should be careful. You see that on the page 3 of the Punch Extra Sports. Sport Extra on the Punch on the page 3. Then we have Chelsea tell Delap to leave. Now the player bought for $50 million. No, 50 million euros. Is being told to leave because his services are no longer needed. Now Delap came from Ipswich, a relegated team, coming up to a team like Chelsea. He has won some trophies with them. Now he has been told to leave. Now another stunner here is FIFA revokes Iran fans tickets. That's on the page 2 on Punch Sports Extra. You see that on page 2 on Sport Punch Extra. More information will be given to you on our sports update. More update on Operatune Sports. Then we have I have right papers. Visa. Somali ref Arne is saying that he has the right paper for the visa. He said that that he has no fault from his side. But yesterday we told you that they said based on the inventory, they have some unseen and unforeseen circumstances going around what he called rights of visa. That even if it was given, there are some things not clear. Then we will beat Messi. Algeria player boast. They want to play against Argentina and they believe they will beat Messi. You see that on page 2, and that for the referee Arne. You see from a Somali referee known as Arne. You see him on the page 2 of the Point Sports Extra. Then not taking too many leak. We just want to dive into basketball. Basketball sports stream Knicks. That's the New York Knicks in the NBA. Get more information from us on this. Stay tuned on the station. Get more information. You'll see sports stream Knicks NBA final lead. You see that on the page. You see that on the page 8 of the Point Sports Extra. These are the front runners. The front runners talking about Nigeria. Left and right give you the potpourri of what is happening around the world of football and also the World Cup. The World Cup takes place tomorrow. There's a day to the World Cup. Some people in some parts of the world today, some people are preparing themselves to gear in for the World Cup. But as it is, the World Cup has come, and Nigerian stars are performing the World Cup, making a date tomorrow towards the World Cup, and we will be here giving you information and telling you the rights and the rules of the World Cup. The first match is going to be played between Mexico and Brazil. But on that, we are still going to give you more information on the World Cup here on the station. Stay tuned to this show for more information. Then we have Michel Platini. Michel Platini on the page 8 of this paper today is suing Giovanni Infantino on personal ground. The FIFA president on personal ground. It's not UEFA suing him. It is Michel Platini and Giovanni Infantino. Then Omeya, who is the Falconets, who's a Falcon, Super Falcons, Omeya says she's happy to account goals and open a goal tally for Nigeria. Why? The Olympic qualifier, a shocker, as Comoros beat Sudan. Comoros beat Sudan with a very high margin to face Falcons in the dugout. They want to face the Falcons for the Olympic qualifiers. More information, you come to the sports update with Operatune Sports. We'll give you more information on some of the news you're seeing on your screen. And that will be all for sports news this morning. You know I'm still Michael Armstrong, your guy, your friend, the one who you will come later to know that he's your starter force. Yes, you're still early starters. You stay tuned and stay put. Don't touch that dial. We're here for you.
Source in Port Harcourt, in Warri, in even where it originated, that is Solo Ibiri. From there, they were burning gas off. Not it's just of recent that they want to get technology of trapping this gas for sales, like the recent scarcity that we are still in now. In fact, I really suffered. What I was paying, what we were buying at this filling station, just 1,050 naira or 1,100. But you believe that today I bought, this morning I bought it 1,005. Why? Just because of Union, Nopeg and Pegasus, they are fighting Dagote. Why? You know the time they have established petroleum, NNPC, in this country since 1956. Since 1956, that has been in existence. And we don't need to suffer at all in this country. But because of politics, and I would rather say it's ignorance or greediness of our leaders, greediness of our politicians. For example, the union, we need to have union, because I'm a retired civil servant in Lagos State. I belong to a union, and if there is any problem facing any of our workers, we tell the government to do the needful. But if they did not do, we resort to strike. But this strike that they resorted to doesn't need to come up at all. They need to resolve it amicably before they brought it out. Our leaders and officials, they will not speak the truth just because of what? Money. Or if anybody who wants to do something good, they will look, this is somebody, either Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo, that wants to do something good. We use one means to discourage or destroy anything that he wants to do.
Like what happened recently now, what I see there is it doesn't need to come up at all. See our refinery, we have 4 refineries in this country, and there's no one has ever produced since